The motion be agreed to. Adrian
Mr.
Rafi,
Speaker.
tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe te māngai tōhare. O te rā, e tika ana ki a tuku atu te reo porapora ki tā rangatira nei ki a tākuta Ranginui Walker. Nō reira e te rangatira hoki wairu atu ki a rātou mā te wāhingaro. Nō reira e oki e moi kāti mō tēnā. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a delight to stand and speak on this, the Christian Churches New Zealand Property Trust Board Empowering Bill. I first of all want to acknowledge the Christian Churches of New Zealand who, as I understand, spent around 2 years before this bill came to the House, making sure that it had consulted widely amongst its parishioners, and the wider church. And so this bill, which is not needed to create the new trust, because that trust is created under other legislation, but it is required because the old board was created under the 1929 Act and is required so that property can be transferred to the new trust. And so the purposes are, of course, to transfer those property interests and the powers and obligations that the associated churches of Christ Church Extension Property Trust Board had to the new Christian Churches New Zealand Property Trust Board. Also, as the Minister mentioned, to dissolve the old board and to repeal the original 1929 Act. So there are only two submitters on this bill, and I'd like to mention, well, both, because the new board itself made a submission which was very helpful, but also and again the Minister mentioned this, that there was a submitter who asked that there be a sunset clause put into the bill. And so that after, say, 2 years, this, when it becomes an act, would be automatically repealed. On advice, the Select Committee decided not to. I just want to elaborate exactly why. One, it was because of the advice, and for an example, the Select Committee was told that if one of the parishioners perhaps had left in their will a donation to the and mentioned the old trust board, that if that was subsequently, this act would be subsequently repealed, then that would not be able to be actioned. And so, and there are others as well, but that was one that we took particular note of, and I think it's worth mentioning in this second reading. The Christian Churches New Zealand Property Trust Board, the new members, also spoke about the restrictions of the old board and their ability to operate in 2015, but in the modern world, and to deal with the issues that their churches are facing. And we're talking about 33 churches which are part of this collective of Christian churches. And so each one of them have their own requirements, and they needed a lot more flexibility to be able to go about their business. And so it is absolutely it's absolutely a thing that we want to support, that the Christian churches are able to carry out their business in a modern context and not be restrained by legislation that was enacted 90 years ago. And so time for an update. And as part of that update, as I understand it, in 2012, the Christian Churches of New Zealand got together. They started this process. They went through a name change and began to develop what they wanted in this bill. And so we come to the bill which gives the board a number of powers which any board would want in this day and age. So the minister also mentioned about some of the other changes which we'll come to in the committee stages. There were a few minor technical changes that need to be made around dissolving the board and repealing the original 1929 Act, and so we support that. I want to also acknowledge the submitters that the church representatives who came to the select committee. They did make some very good points. They talked in particular about the legislation requiring the assets and the liabilities of the Associated Churches of Christ Extension and Property Trust Board to be transferred to the new trust. They talked about the terms that the new trust would be considerably wider than those of the 1929 Act. They talked about it being enabling to consider the wider mission and outreach. They also talked about not only in terms of the buildings, but also in terms of using their funds for other activities of the church. And in their opinion was also to promote the charitable purpose of promotion of the Christian faith. And I think all of those things were accepted by the select committee, and it was a pleasure to be part of that, sir, and also that it was great that the select committee were able to get through all of its work in supporting this legislation. So we too on this side of the House, we support this bill and we commend it to the House.